This story actually begins about 4 decades before I was even born. In January 1954, tragedy struck my small, rural hometown in what has since been nicknamed The Hole. Some claim this name is for the entire property, but I grew up being told it was just the farmhouse. 3 families that had been extremely close for years all lived together on a rather sizable farm. 7 adults and 8 children, 15 people living under one roof. But despite the sizable population, the mood inside that farmhouse was always said to be cheery. That is, until Harrison, one of the adults in the home, came into the local sheriff's office requesting assistance. According to Harrison, 2 of the children were playing in the woods on the property when they came upon a ghastly scene. About a dozen squirrels, all ripped to shreds, not eaten, but torn apart. The kids then reported that a few seconds after finding this, they heard a howl from above. They looked up and saw what they called a jagged man jumping from tree to tree. The father assumed that a hunter was using their land. The sheriff agreed and went out to Harrison's property. After a survey of the area, the sheriff confirmed the animal mutilation but couldn't find whatever had done the deed, nor any evidence that hunters had been out there. The sheriff told Harrison and the rest of the adults that if they saw anything else, to contact him. They didn't, though. Not only that, they stopped contacting people in general. All 7 adults stopped showing up to work, and the children had a spotty attendance at school. It was rare for all 8 children to be in class. Usually only a few showed up, but in early January, one of those children did show up. And during their free time that day, a boy confronted that child, a little girl, about what he had heard about her family and the others, genuinely concerned. This is usually where tellings of the story differentiate, but most agree that the girl told him a variation of, "All the adults are far too busy to leave. Our new guest has them digging day and night, but he says we should be all set after tonight. I hope so." Later on that day, the boy told his father, who was actually close with Harrison, about what the little girl told him. Despite a heavy blizzard, the boy's father drove out to the farm. Due to the snow, it took far longer than it should have, and looking back, it's fair to say that the man was too late. Upon arriving, the man had to slam on his brakes when his truck nearly fell into a large hole. The man got out and was flabbergasted to see holes peppered all throughout the property. Despite the heavy snowfall recently, the holes were deep enough that the snow only came to about the halfway mark in each one. The man was rushing to the front door when he noticed a rotten smell and stopped in his tracks. This man was a World War II veteran and knew that smell very well. Clenching his jaw, the man followed the scent to one specific hole positioned right in front of the porch, and with extreme hesitation, using a flashlight, looked into the hole. 15 bodies stacked onto each other, almost completely unrecognizable, all laying in a hole filled with their viscera and gore. For a town of what was then 200, this case shook everyone to their core. The local police went into overdrive, interviewing every able-bodied adult in the town to try to piece a story together. They scoured the land looking for clues, but only one thing popped out to them. The inside of the farmhouse was caked with blood, trails and spatter in every room. Except for one. The master bedroom was not only spotless, but it had been transformed. It looked like a makeshift throne room, complete with a chair with rug nailed to the seat. Despite an extensive investigation, the case remains unsolved to this day. One would hope that the tragedies would end there, but sadly, not even close. In what sounds like a complete horror cliché, on April 9th, 1978, a young couple, Terry and James, had been dared by their friends to stay the night in the farmhouse. And as I'm sure you can guess, it ended horribly. After not hearing from the pair for an entire day, the couple's friends contacted the police, who went out to the old farm. The very first thing the responding police saw was a freshly dug hole sitting right in front of the porch. The assumption here was that the friends had set them up and murdered the couple, but every single suspect involved had an airtight alibi. The scene appeared almost identical to the one from '54. Bodies in the hole, the house an absolute wreck, all except for the master bedroom, which appeared to defy time and remain pristine. This time, the cops staked the hole out on the theory that maybe a drifter was staying there. But after nearly a week, they called it off and began constructing a fence around the property. On October 12, 1995, two brothers, one 19 and the other 28, were doing some early morning hunting in a patch of woods about 2 miles from the hole. At some point that morning, the boys were attacked. The younger brother, Benjamin, suffered severe head injuries, but was able to escape somehow. The elder one, Francis, was declared missing once an injured and disoriented Benjamin was found wandering close to the road. A search was called, and our town looked for that man like people possessed. But after 3 days, a grim and silent consensus was reached. Check the hole. This was the first time the crime scene differed from before. Francis' body had been sliced in half. His lower half laid in a freshly dug hole right in front of the farmhouse porch. But his upper half was positioned outside the master bedroom door. Benjamin was extensively interviewed, hoping to retrieve even a single snapshot of what happened that day. But the injuries he suffered led to serious memory loss, though one of the first nurses who encountered Benjamin on that morning claims that he said to her, "He's kind of like when Tom the cat is sort of folded like an accordion," before falling back asleep. I have absolutely no idea why the hole wasn't demolished after that death, but the decision not to led to what happened last week. I have always been close with my cousin, Marissa. We were practically inseparable growing up, so you can imagine how I felt when I was informed that she was missing, and that the back door of her home had been ripped off the hinges. I didn't sleep for days. My ass was up and down the entire town, screaming, turning over rocks. I wanted her back. After 2 days, the worst was suggested. I demanded to go there with police, and after a 20-minute argument, I was allowed to ride along. Have you ever been kicked in the stomach? I mean, full force, no holding back. Well, that's how I felt when I looked in the hole and saw Marissa's head laying on top of her arms. I was told that the rest of her body had again been positioned in front of the master bedroom door. For days, I had to console half the fucking town. All the while, a smoldering rage grew inside of me. Every "I'm sorry for your loss" stoked it just a bit more. I hadn't even thought about the hole until Marissa's ex-boyfriend, Paul, went on a tirade about how the cops constantly sit on their asses and let that place haunt this entire town. 3 rounds of beers later, a plan was hatched. Under the cover of darkness last night, Paul, my brother, 2 of my cousins, and I made our way to the hole, carrying 5 full cans of gas. The police had attempted another stakeout, which yet again yielded no results. So the hole sat there, unguarded, as we watched the flames grow and eventually engulfed the farmhouse. All 5 of us stood there, grins plastered on our faces, feeling as though we were exorcising a demon. This may sound cliché, but it felt like a spiritual experience. The fire was quietly dealt with, and neither the fire department nor the police commented on it. They likely even know we did it. But honestly, I think they're just happy the place is gone. I don't know to what extent we helped, if this is all over or not. But personally, I am overjoyed to have the whole reduced to a pile of ash.